Shabbat Shalom and welcome to our video Vort for Parshat Bereshit 5784. The Torah begins with some ideas that were radical for their time. The belief in the world that was created. Well, the ancient Greeks weren't so sure about that. The belief that there was one God who's supreme over all. The polytheistic societies of the ancient world certainly wouldn't have agreed. But perhaps the most transformative notion from the creation story appears at the end of Perek Aleph. Vayomer Elokim, God said, Na'aseh Adam b'tzalmenu kidmutenu. Let us make man in our image, in our form. And it gets repeated a few psukim later. Vayivra Elokim, Hashem created et ha'adam b'tzalmo, in God's image. B'tzelem Elokim bara'oto. We are created in the image of God. The reason this is so radical is because in the ancient world, it wasn't the case that we're all created in the image of God. The term image of God exists, but it only applies to the kings, the royalty. Those are the people who represent God on earth, and the rest of us don't have that direct connection. The Torah's radical notion is that it's not only the royalty that have that connection and that representation of God, but that is something we all possess. This idea was historically transformative. It became the basis for the American Revolution, the idea that all people are created equal in the Declaration of Independence. And it's also transformative for how we live our lives. And I think we could think about it in two different ways. The first is that when we think of all humanity being created in the image of God, that will affect how we treat each other. You're not some other person, you are God represented in the world, and in that way we have to treat you with a certain sense of dignity that you might not have otherwise thought. But perhaps even more transformative is how we think about ourselves. The Midrash describes how when Hillel would go to the bathhouse, he would tell his students, I'm going to perform a mitzvah. What mitzvah? Well, the mitzvah of honoring the Tzelem Elokim, honoring the king as he appears on earth. Just like those who wash the statues of the king, said Hillel, well, that's an honorable role, you're representing the king well on earth. So too, when we take care of ourselves, and we treat ourselves with dignity and honor and respect, that's also a way of honoring the Tzelem Elokim that we all have inside of us. And so we should take this opportunity, the Shabbos, to think of what it means that we ourselves are in some sense kingly, are in some sense representations of Hashem, and the kind of dignity that we need in order to represent that well. Good Shabbos.